insurance companies are like betting companies. But we bet on the good things like healthcare, not Arsenal and Liverpool. We bet on.
That's a very debatable conversation, whether it's a good thing or not.
If you live longer, losses.
Yeah.
So actually, in the pension world, if you go to the gym, you should be paying more. That's one,
If you're very healthy.
healthy lifestyle.
You're
also.
punishing people for.
Unaharibu. Unachoma. So,
We didn't plan for you going to the gym.
If you're in the pension business, you should look for like smokers, dancers. Sign here. Sign here.
Okay.
We will refund you. But we know.
Truth be told, Charlene, what is actuarial? Do we even know who is an actuary?
Yes.
What role do they play in insurance? Who are these people?
Yes. And truth be told, Mali, today your questions will be answered because we have an actuary on set today here with us at the TBT podcast. This gentleman is a leading voice in the industry. He is the CEO, MD, and Chief Actuary at Kenbright. Please meet Ezekiel Macharia. Karibu sana to our podcast, Ezekiel.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to talk to you guys. And I'm also very excited to popularize insurance and actuarial matters. I'm here to answer all your questions. Yes.
Oh, okay. So welcome to the Truth Be Told podcast. My name is Malim Toto Mwanza.
And I'm Charlene Kimara. You may call me Mama Bima Kenya.
Okay, so we start there, Charlene.
Yes.
Who is an actuary and how do they fit into this insurance conversation?
Yes.
So I think you have to look at what is insurance, and the first discussion is when you make a WhatsApp group. What do? You call all your friends.
Yes.
And then you tell them, "Oh, we have a problem. Maybe somebody's sick."
Yes.
Or my car's an accident. I'm seeing people now forming WhatsApp group for weddings.
Rashios, please.
I'm buying a TV.
Yes.
But ideally, you should open those groups for emergencies, right?
Yes.
So think of an insurance as the same concept, but a WhatsApp group where we don't know each other. And the admin for that WhatsApp group is the insurance company.
Yes.
So they tell everybody, come on the WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Now, the only difference is we collect money before the event.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say a bill is $1 million. We would call people in our WhatsApp group and tell them, all of you join. But now the question is, how much does everybody pay?
Yes.
Now that's where we come in. The actuary comes as a superhero to come and do the math. And then we crunch the numbers.
Like that.
And then we say, you know what, everybody in this group should put 50 bob.
Yes.
And everybody contributes 50 bob.
Yeah.
So my work is to ensure that the 50 bob everybody collected is enough to pay the claims.
Okay.
So that bill might be $1 million, but see, with insurance, we contribute before
The event, yes.
Yeah, the WhatsApp group contributes after, and you know the bill.
Yeah.
So because of that unknown nature, that's where the actuary comes in. Otherwise, we don't need us. But when the insurance company does that, they structure it like that. Now, then they do a WhatsApp group for cars, if you have an accident, another WhatsApp group for healthcare, another WhatsApp group for cyber risk. So there are many WhatsApp groups.
Different pools.
So for us as actuaries, our work is to do two things. One is to put the 50 bob, but also monitor the 50 bob. So that's what you see every year, end of year, when you go to insurance companies' annual accounts on page 4, you'll see an actuary assigned, and I assign a lot of that. And what we do is we check the promise, the 50 bob we put.
Yes.
Is it enough?
Has it delivered?
And so insurance companies are like betting companies, but we bet on the good things like healthcare. Not Arsenal and Liverpool. We bet on.
That's a very debatable conversation, whether it's a good thing or not.
It is because if you leave hospital and go home and you don't have to sell your PlayStation or your TV, then that's a good thing.
Okay.
And for 50 bob only, that's a
How
great
do you
idea.
determine these 50 shillings? What do you consider so that you arrive at 50 or 100 or 200,000? What is that?
Well, apart from magical powers and
Following on the superhero conversation ahead.
and God-given gifts, and a crystal ball in our bedroom.
Yes.
Where we go and check how many guys will be sick. And, and then there's a mirror on the wall. 100,000 Kenyans will be sick. I'm like, okay, here's the number.
Yes.
So what we do is we go through a very rigorous training process.
Okay.
And that's if you to be an actuary, you have to have an A, the biggest A. Super A.
It's the highest.
Super A. In fact, for us, I think during our year, you had to be like in the newspaper to be an actuary.
Wow.
Like a super A, not just an A.
So is it doctor first, then actuarial, or is it actuarial
At that
first,
time, it was
then
maximum.
doctor?
We don't know. We don't know. Because they didn't go B. It was A everything. So, unless there was an let's go to the max.
Okay.
So you first of all get the best students in the country, and then you take them through the most rigorous training
Yes.
that you can do. And you find, for example, out of 10,000 great students, there are only 100 qualified actuaries. So you can imagine the best of the best, the 1% of the 1%, then the 0.1% of that number.
That one, yeah.
And once you do that, then obviously these are great people, and naturally they should have the answers, right?
Elaine, we have a genius on set today.
So in a nutshell, what we do is we rely on a very unique thing about our reality, our planet. It's called the law of large numbers. It's a weird law, which, it's something we use, but we don't know how it came about.
Okay.
So the law of large numbers, and I try to explain it in a way that the average person can understand, is that when I ask you right now, how many people are in Kenyatta Hospital, it's a very popular thing I use. So, how many people are in Kenyatta Hospital right now?
Yes.
And then I'd ask you, do you think there's at least one person in Kenyatta right now? What would your answer be?
Yes.
Your answer would be yes, right? And then I'd say, would you cut your hand? You're so sure there's somebody right now at Kenyatta Hospital, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a patient, whether it's a doctor, would you be ready to cut your hand because you're so sure there's at least one person in Kenyatta Hospital? It's not empty.
I can take that bet.
You can take that bet, right? Then I'd ask you, if you're so sure you'd even cut your hand, that is somebody, at least one person at Kenyatta Hospital, what is their name? Now, you see that thing where you are so sure, but you can't, it's not a name, you just know. That is the law of large numbers.
Okay.
And that applies to everything else in our world. So, number of people dying is a way you can do the stats and see. You may not know who will die, but you'll just know this is the stats.
Someone will die.
You don't know who gets sick, but you'll know people who get cancer are X. But you don't know who will get cancer. You may know people who get malaria, you'll know people who will get specific diseases. But if you ask me who are these people, I will not know. All I know is that for every 100,000 people, I will be able to estimate for you who will get sick.
Okay.
If it's cyber attacks, I can be able to tell you out of these 100,000 SMEs, the cyber attacks will be like this. So that law of large numbers is what actuaries use when they're being told in this WhatsApp group, calculate for us.
Okay.
And so we come and say, okay, these people in this WhatsApp group, what benefits do they want? Then we go to our secret stash and check our law of large numbers. And then it's okay. And then we're able to identify for you. And so that's what we do. And the beauty of that structure, you see, both structures pay the claim, right?
Okay.
Structure A, everybody 50 bob or 100 bob or 1,000 bob pays the claims. Structure 2 is WhatsApp group, you still pay the bill, right? But see, this other method makes everybody pay less.
Yes.
Right? This other one, people pay, you have a smaller group, people pay more. So in a WhatsApp group, if you give less than 1,000, people look at you, bana. But this other one,
the first person to contribute
sets the tone.
Of
how much you're contributing.
I think if you set up your own WhatsApp group, you put 50,000. Then the next guy is like, okay,
I can send 2K. Yes.
So you see, with insurance, then you're able now to do a larger WhatsApp group of people who don't know each other.
Yes.
maybe if you don't have friends, maybe if you only have 3 guys who are your pals, you'll struggle on the other side.
Yeah.
But on this side, you don't know each other, and we get more people.
Yes.
And by having more people, you're now able to get less contributions. And that's the whole idea of universal care, universal concepts, the concept of insurance, is getting a bunch of guys in, everybody pays up front, but you pay less. The only disadvantage with this method is that you pay for people who don't know. So there's no emotional attachment.
Okay.
This other one is nice because if you contribute to a guy for their healthcare,
Yes.
and then you call them, hey, Bana, I'm having an event. Are you coming?
Yes.
You have to
They're
revenge.
indebted.
But if you think about it, in insurance, if you contribute to the pool,
Yeah.
you don't know these people.
Yeah.
True.
A guy lives in a hospital happy. He has paid a bill of 5 million.
Yeah.
But they can't even send you a text of thank you. This other one, they'll send you, oh, thank you very much.
It lacks the emotive.
It lacks.
Impact.
Yes. And that's why maybe it's a bit boring
Yeah.
from that perspective, because it doesn't have that emotional aspect to it.
Is there a way of combining those two?
So
Because
there-
I do feel as
Yeah.
Kenyans, there's that we want the emotive aspect. We want to know that I contributed to for so and so.
Yes.
I don't want the idea that I went to hospital, no one came to me, I
Yes.
just paid and I left.
And we had a great guest on the podcast who suggested that maybe it's time for the insurance industry to start publishing the list of, like, if your bill is paid.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a text and you're told, these are the people who contributed towards this. These are the other members in the scheme.
Well, apart from data protection and anonymity,
Yes.
that people don't want to show like they had a catastrophe.
Yeah.
I think there are people who are trying to do something called peer-to-peer insurance.
Okay.
And with AI, they might get there.
Okay.
So if that works, I think the M-Pesa for insurance would be a world where we can add that emotive piece on the insurance. And once that is added,
Yeah.
then it makes sense. Just look at a scenario where you're with one of the big insurers in the country for healthcare, but that insurance has a subgroup
Okay.
of your family members. So naturally, if your family member gets treated,
Yes.
everybody in that group is like, hey, Bana, it was us.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
you don't see that it's a bigger pool,
Yeah.
Yes.
you'll think it's your small pool that did it.
Okay.
But you see, for insurance, the idea is that you might not have an event, you may not have a sickness.
Yes.
So, let's take, for example, inpatient insurance. From our stats, out of every 100 guys, only 10 will have an inpatient event.
Yeah.
So, which means the other 90
Yes.
will not have an event. So, you have to design those groups in a way that at least you have one of the people. So that they all have
It has
that.
an
The other
impact.
9 can be like, okay, so you make 10 groups
Yeah.
of 10 people each, and then make sure one guy is there.
Gets an event.
Otherwise, it'll be a group of everybody sick in one group. Then that's another problem.
Yeah.
So, if that can never happen, where we structure the grouping within the insurer,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then add that emotive piece, I think that will be the solution, and that's one. And then also, the other aspect I would say is reducing the costs
Okay.
of administering claims, because I think right now we have a problem with, people dipping in the pot, whether it's through fraud or through anything. Because our sector is the only sector where, if you go buy bread for 50 bob or 100 bob, or if you took these ones for French, 500. If you
Yes.
buy, if somebody's buying bread, when they pay for the bread, they're paying for the value of the bread. So the bread is 50 bob, including the margin, but essentially that bread is close to the 50 bob.
Yes.
But insurance is different. Insurance, if the bread is 50 bob, you're going to pay 1 bob.
And we
And
give you 50 bob.
50
Yes.
bob worth
Yeah,
of bread.
yeah.
So now, because of that mismatch in money in and money out,
Yes.
Difference.
then it creates a natural affinity for people to say, you know what, can I put a shilling and try and get 50? Because that's a
Yes.
49 bob profit.
Yes.
So there's a lot of administration cost being spent to block those people.
Yeah.
Right?
Cater for that, yeah.
Yeah.
So is that part of the pricing
Yes.
conversation that
Yes.
we are anticipating, apart from someone falling sick or a car getting hit, whatever, there is going to be fraud as well?
I would say yes, there's going to be some kind of, people dipping into the pot because of that, just because of that fact alone, that once I put a shilling, I'm a member, I'm allowed to collect 50 out,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And so some people can take a bet and say, look, I'll put a shilling and then try and game the system
Okay.
to get money out. So when you price a product, what you do is you put them in 3 boxes. The first box, maybe 4 plus profit. The first box is money you'll pay.
Okay.
Whether
Those are
that
the
is
claims.
money back to the humans. Then the second box is the distribution, sales teams, commissions, blah blah. That's for them. That's for Mama Bima money. And then the third box is for the insurance company's admin.
Okay.
Right? How much will you pay? So most companies, the small insurance companies, spend about 25 bob for every 100 bob they get. The larger players spend about 12 bob. And if you saw the SHA Act, it actually reduced that to 5 bob.
Wow.
To make sure that there is, the spend is 5. And then it's in the Act, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then the fourth box is profit. So for insurance companies, the fourth box is, because they are for profit,
Okay.
so for shareholder. So these 4 boxes, money for customers, money for the distributors, money for the company salaries, admin costs, systems, and then last box is profit. Those are the ones you now use to price products.
Okay. And going back to the law of large numbers, how do you sort of like project? Because in 2020, we saw what happened. A pandemic hit the world over, like COVID. We've seen natural disasters like tsunamis, even in, say, other countries, where hundreds of thousands of people maybe pass away, such tragedies. And I can even imagine the destruction in property and all. As an actuary, how do you project for those curveballs?
Crystal ball. Crystal
No, you wouldn't have that. That wouldn't be in the crystal ball.
I think that's a very easy thing to predict. It's actually harder to predict whether Marlene will wear a white shirt today or white shirt with a hat today,
Yes.
or Marlene will go to a certain restaurant today. That's harder than predicting pandemics, because you see, this one is talking about annual. We're talking about, will a pandemic happen this year or not? Now, if you go 200 years back, that's only 200 probabilities, right? Permutations, rather. But Marlene wearing a shirt and a hat and going to a certain restaurant, how many restaurants are there? Thousands.
Okay.
How many hats does he have? Maybe thousands. How many shirts does he have?
Okay.
So what you do is you layer it. You say events that are most likely to happen, events that might happen, and events that are rare. And then for each box, you reduce your time, right? Duration to check. So for example, if I'm checking if this event will happen, the most likely ones we know will happen, maybe daily. And then we'll do the ones that will happen every month, and then every year, and then once in a century.
Yeah.
So then for each of those boxes, you price, you put a number, you say, think of them as separate boxes.
Yeah.
So out of that 50 bob, apart from giving money for distributors, company profits, maybe assume you're left with 40 bob.
Yes.
That 40 bob will structure it and say, out of that 40 bob, 30 bob was for the normal stuff.
Okay.
Maybe 5 bob for the not so normal. Maybe 4 bob for and then 1 bob for the extreme event.
Yeah.
So they're actually insurance companies who deal with that extreme piece.
Only that.
They're only that, and they're called reinsurers.
Yes.
Okay.
So they insure the insurer. So their work is to come and support you for that. So they get a bob from everybody.
Yes.
And then they chill.
And wait.
Waiting.
And just get money.
Yes.
So they just get cash coming in.
Yes.
So some come at not maybe the top layer, maybe some come in the second top layer.
Okay.
Yes.
So even they can be called reinsurers, but then the guys above them are called retro
Okay.
So retrocessionaires, it's complex. Yeah.
Okay.
So the layers, when you have those products, everybody sees where they play. So you can be at the bottom, you can go up, you can go to reinsurers, you can go to retro, you can go to people who do catastrophe bonds, you can go to large pension schemes. So it's just where you want to play in the world on risks. And then you see where you get money. And then you get some crystal ball magicians called actuaries. You pay them well.
Yes.
They relax, take some coffee,
Yes.
and then they do the math, and then everything,
pray to God that-
everything comes. And then they tell, "Thank you, God, for the
how the year has been."
for the year has been, and the great skills
Okay.
that you get."
But behind the scenes, we were talking about the South African story. In Kenya, and we've talked about this on the show, Charlene, on how the penetration for insurance has been very low.
Yes.
Partly because of what we've talked about, the mindset of insurance in the business. And then there is the South African story, where 15% penetration going into 20s. What's the difference? What happens? What happened there?
I think the first word we should stop using is the word penetration.
Okay. Noted.
Insurance penetration. We should. I think a better word
Yes.
is insurance contribution.
Contribution.
Because when somebody hears insurance penetration, they think about number of people covered.
Yes.
No, insurance. The right word is insurance contribution.
Okay.
So when you say insurance contribution
Yeah.
or penetration is 3%,
Yes.
what you mean is the money from insurance collected
Yes.
was 3% of our economy, the GDP.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so the number of people covered, the humans, in Kenya, maybe we're at 20%, right? And in theory, once SHA is live, we'll be at 100% coverage because it's in theory, like assume everything works well.
We're coming there. We're coming there.
So we'll get to 100.
Yeah.
But the money contributed will never be a big number because you have tourism, you have construction, you have mining,
Okay.
you have other sectors. So when you see a market where the insurance contribution or penetration is 15, it means that sector is very big in that economy. So it means it is overshadowing other things. That's why, so go to Santon, you will see a lot of infrastructure is owned by insurance companies.
Okay.
Because the money that is in the economy,
Yes.
15-12% is from the insurance sector in terms of contributions and everything. In terms of new money in.
Yes.
Right? So when we're at 3% and other markets are, 0.4, whatever, it means that people are not putting money into that system. So those WhatsApp groups are smaller. Yeah, so it means like in Kenya, our WhatsApp group is at about 3%.
Yeah.
Okay, actually it used to be 3, then we rebased the economy, then we went to 2.
Yes.
But it's still a big number in terms of money in. We're doing about 300 billion new money every into our WhatsApp group, our big WhatsApp group, with about 60 companies inside. So there are 60 admins, and they all get 300B.
Yeah.
And then they have all these actuaries inside. So why is our country not? Why is our WhatsApp group not so big? It's because one, we started our insurance sector late.
Okay.
If you look at like one of our directors, Mr. Sami Makove, who was in the IRA, they started the act in the 80s, right? So compare that with an economy where they have 100-year-old, 150-year-old insurers.
Yes.
So they started contributing them WhatsApp groups were.
Early.
Yeah. Now you can't compare your WhatsApp group. You started yesterday and ours, which is more established.
Yeah.
So I think it's a time issue.
Okay.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, it is investment issue where life insurance. So the other check you see to see whether you'll have a big growth is between life insurance, which is we cover you until you die, or general insurance, which we just cover you for the year.
The short-term
Yeah.
insurance.
So if you put money in the bank,
Yeah.
you can withdraw it tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
So the bank will always have short-term money. Whatever they want, it's always short-term money. I can take money out now.
Yes.
Insurance companies long-term money. So somebody can put their money there for 50 years.
Yes.
So whether you like it or not, eventually
It will be that way.
it will be overtaken.
Yeah.
Eventually, the money the insurance companies will collect
Is more.
will be more than the banks.
Uh-huh.
And they have to, and this money they have to put for 50 years. They'll have to put this money somewhere. Banks cannot, for example, buy assets like they can't go to stock market and buy. They can, but it's going to be very risky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you go to ATM
And you don't
get
have don't have the
and they
money.
tell you pesa, pesa iko nini?
The stock price is
Because
low.
the stock market ime dip kidogo.
Ngojea kidogo.
Ngojea kidogo, wait. No, the bank will just buy bonds
Uh-huh.
and just tell you to wait.
Yeah.
So because to be prudent, they'll buy bonds, and the insurance company can, for this long-term money, they can buy shares in other bank.
Okay.
They can buy shares in
Okay.
telco. So over time, whether you like it or not, the next transition point
Yeah.
will be that now insurance companies not owning banks. Then now they transition into infrastructure for the country.
Uh-huh.
So that's where you see, if you have a big project, you'll see, insurance companies or pension schemes supporting dams, or supporting large projects. So over time, that is the maturity of the sector. So right now, smaller type group, 300 billion, not so much,
Yeah.
but very soon.
How does that compare with the banks now in Kenya?
It's okay. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not in that sector. I only know my sector, but I can tell you that whether it'll be in my generation or the next generation,
Okay.
and obviously prudency and good governance apply, and more magicians like actuaries come in and support the sector.
Okay.
Yes.
It is going to happen.
Okay.
Okay, and Ezekiel, I'm keen to know, you've said that maybe in the next 1 year or two, we may see long-term business overtake
Yep.
short-term. Is that in premiums collected?
Yes, money in.
The money in?
Money in. So just think of it this way. If let's say I buy a life product, unless I'm contributing for 10 years,
Yes.
I'll contribute. But you see, every new year, whether it's this year or next year, I'm still part of the contributors. So when the people selling the life insurance sell, they'll now add another person on top.
Yes.
So now, naturally, they'll just start growing. You see, for general, it's the same guy repeating,
Yes.
renewing the policy. If it's car insurance, how many cars are there? Maybe 3 million. So that's the maximum you can get. And also, the value of the car is not changing, right?
Probably even depreciating.
But the value of property is not changing.
Yeah.
But see, for life, people love themselves, so they'll keep investing in themselves.
Yes.
There's no upper limit. So those contributions will eventually overtake general, because as they're piling up, more and more people are coming in,
Yes.
then naturally, the overtaking will happen. So you will see it coming in from the fact that individual life, for example, we can talk a bit shop here, ordinary life will, for example, grow because there is a existing business that's not lapsing,
Yes.
and then the new business coming in. So the overtaking is bound to happen, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and I think also in the market, people are starting to get an interest in very long-term kind of business. I think in the past we mainly had access to short-term, sort of like endowment plans, or even if they were long-term, they had sort of like a maturity end. But I think right now in the industry, you get to see a lot of life underwriters are introducing, like as you said, whole life insurance.
Yeah.
And Kenyans are actually taking it up. People are starting to embrace this thing of, yes, I can contribute premiums for the next 10 or 20,
Yeah.
but I know it will be paid. Whether I go 50 years from now, I'm willing to lock in that money and lock in some sum assured that eventually can be paid out as maybe an inheritance.
I think that is being driven by two things. One is there are less companies collapsing, which is kudos to IRA, but they're doing a lot of work to support the sector in terms of structuring it. So there's more trust on the insurance side, and there's less trust on the other side of the economy. So for example, when people see lawyers fighting over somebody has died and lawyers are fighting over the wealth
Yes.
of the deceased, or you see some children suffering, or you see some trusts where the administrators are eating literally the trust money.
Yes.
So people now ask, okay, what other alternative is there? So as there's less trust in those other alternative structures, and trust is building on the insurance side, those products have been there. They have been there from 1800s, 1900s, 1950. Those products have been there. So, and they are very good ways of securing your future for your child, right? So, like a whole life is a very good plan where you put in cash in, and in case anything happens, whether you die today or you die when you are 90, cash is paid. So, and so as long as you have trust in that structure, then you'll ask yourself, why do I need a trust, right? Because if this plan can pay, depending how you structure it, it can pay maybe year one, 10% of fund value, 20, 30, 40, and you trust that process, then you'll say, why am I investing in a trust? Why am I investing in lawyers on my will and all those things? This can be an avenue for that. So it's important that people come to understand that these solutions are there. And one of the areas I would say in terms of planning is on retirement. So how do people plan for retirement? And you can have babies and hope that
there will be a retirement.
and tell them,
What about to happen?
so you start with
Solid
them.
backup plan.
You start with them telling them, well, let her remote. And then they transition to, hey, Nikona Kabila. And you tell them, hey, Bana, you've not come for Christmas.
Yes.
There's like a project niko nayo. I want you to ilipia.
Tumeitwa chama, please.
Yes.
Which worked in the past. Look, our parents, if you look at most of our parents, how many were there in the family? Right? Maybe
12.
10, 12.
Yeah.
Because that was the pension.
Yeah.
Yes.
And whether you like it or not, that was the pension.
It worked.
And at the time, rural communities, what is the economic source is a farm.
Yes.
So what do you do for farm? What are your costs? Labor.
Manpower.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Look, I can make free labor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the retirement plan. But now when you urbanize,
Yes.
there's no farm.
Yeah.
Right? So now people are thinking, hey, now what am I going to do for retirement?
Yeah.
So you see some people say, let me buy a plot. Okay? Let me build some houses, some apartments, which is one of the sprawling issues we'll have. So they will put those apartments up, and then they hope when they reach 60, they can be collecting rent, which has worked. And we've seen it work for some people. Only that now that has brought in issues of steel wire.
Really?
Not very safe.
Is it still working, actually?
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. We don't know.
We digress.
We digress. So that becomes your pensions. Because you're like, okay, I'll get property from these apartments, and then the caretaker. So sometimes the caretaker steals money. Sometimes, when you're just retired, well, you can push them away. Caretaker, where are you? But when you're 80, you're 60, that guy tells you, bana.
Huyu hajalipa.
Hata hajalipa huyu. In fact, nilifukuza watu. The apartment is empty.
Yes.
Then if anything happens, then you die, then your kids fight for that property. It's murky. So you now start seeing people transitioning to what we call annuities or pensions, where you're like, look, instead of me building the apartment, maybe just put cash in, and I just get salary out.
Yes.
Which is another way. Which, you need to think about it. If you're building a building for 50 million, and you expect to get maybe rent of 5M per year, then which is maybe 5M per year, maybe translates to about what is that about per month? That's
400 and something.
Yeah, maybe 5 SOC.
Yeah.
So you can also give the insurer 50 milli, and then tell them, give me 500K a month as a pension. They can easy.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah.
Yes.
No steel wire.
Yes. Oh no.
no issues on death.
Yes.
And if that building deteriorates, you don't have to build it again, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to repair it.
Yeah.
So you essentially transfer that risk to the insurer. Then the insurer calls the actuary and says, look, we've got this 50 mil. One, this guy might live longer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? What if we lead at 80, 70, 90? We don't know. What if he lives forever?
Yeah.
Yes.
Still on contract.
Yes.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you the realities that we face as actuaries.
Yeah.
Very hard problem. So now we say, okay.
At least that's one that's one I can predict.
Yes.
You will die.
No, look, there are technologies coming in, people saying I'll live up to 250.
Oh, wow.
And you're on contract to pay that guy by the way.
Yes.
So when you do a pension, so the actuary we come up with some tables and say, okay, how many people survived, 80, 90, and then we come up with a table. And then we call it a mortality table. There are tables for, sickness called morbidity tables, blah, blah. Then we come with that. Then that's one risk, the risk of longevity. If you drop dead tomorrow, profits.
Yes.
Clean.
If you live longer, losses.
Yeah.
So actually in the pension world, actually if you go to the gym, you should be paying more. That's one.
If you're very healthy.
Healthy lifestyle.
You're punishing,
also.
you're punishing
You
people
also
for...
punish
Unaribu.
women.
Unachoma. So,
We didn't plan for you going to the gym.
if you work in the pension business, you should look for like smokers, dancers. Sign here.
Okay.
We will refund you. But we know. So that's one. And then now the issue is now we receive this 50 mil. Where do you invest it? Right? Because you're expecting the money to grow at a certain rate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you invest in pensions, bonds, blah, blah. So that's another issue that insurance companies faced with. So then the actuary comes and says, okay, let's do some mathematics here. What are the yields of this thing? What if this thing collapses? What if taxes? Refinancing, because you might invest today at 12%. Then 10 years, yields drop to 5.
Yes.
So you have a reinvestment issue, yet you committed 12.
Yeah.
So imagine that whole headache that somebody would have had with apartments has now been transferred to a third party. And so the idea is, as long as there are professionals who can be trusted to do that work for you, then definitely people will start putting more of their money there. And that's why the sector will grow and has grown in other markets, not Kenya. Right? So it's just something to think about in terms of what that is. So people might argue Gen Zs or other people will change. But you see, the fundamental thing of you'll stop working at some point.
Yeah.
Who will pay for your cost? You'll go down to the basics.
That will be constant.
It's a simple question.
Constant, yeah.
Who will pay for your cost?
Yeah.
Is it your children?
Yes.
That has been tested.
Yeah. It works.
It has worked.
Yes. But I don't think it's working as well anymore.
It's a method. It's a method. Yeah. But the question now will be, when you call your child and then they block you, I'm they blue tick you, and then now you're like, this is nilikusomesha.
The black tax.
That's sending SMS up. At black, look now what you're calling it, black tax.
Exactly.
After somebody paying your education, what is that family?
Now it becomes a problem.
But they tell you, I didn't tell you to bring me into the world.
You
That's
see now,
it nowadays.
when your pension is talking like that,
Exactly.
you start regretting.
I need to start
Like,
seeing.
look.
I need to start seeing my kids as pension. Pension 1, pension 2.
That method is there. That's one option.
Okay.
Option 2 is build something and let it give you revenue. The question is, who's going to administer it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what if you outlive it?
Yeah.
Because what if you live longer and that thing starts deteriorating? Right? Maybe you're collecting rent of X amount, but you live longer than you should. Right? As per the world. I say should, I mean per the
What is that? Is
The
it
Bible?
Is it
the book of life.
Okay.
The age of 70.
So if you repent extra, somewhere.
It becomes a curse.
So that is your problem too.
Okay.
So the insurance companies will definitely have an opportunity to create that trust and be alternative 3. And if it works well, and we get more actuaries who are the professionals, the gatekeepers, the great talented
The
magicians.
geniuses.
And we need to ask this question. I hope I'll remember to ask, how do you, for a child out there or someone who is in high school, how do you get to be an actuary? You talked about trust building, and it's becoming more insurance is becoming more trustworthy. I think that's a very good compliment. I like that, and we are here to prove that actually that it's not just it's not a scam. We are not CCC wezi. There's a conversation there.
Yes.
Question, Ezekiel. We have a statistic by Business Daily saying that the average Kenyan. Only 1% of Kenyans have 100,000 shillings in their bank account. Now, the average insurance product a good one, whether it's a motor insurance or no, it round about there 70, 100,000 or medical cover. How do we expect for us to get to the 15% contribution to the GDP? I said contribution, not penetration.
Yes, not penetration.
Focus on contribution.
Yeah.
I think there's a mismatch between the products in the market and the humans, the people, the citizens. But that's changing. I think. Remember, I gave the analogy for the WhatsApp group. As long as the costs can be managed in a way that. Do you know what, one of the products I've been telling the insurance companies that I support to work on is deposit. You know, the biggest issues people have with hospital is at midnight, you go to hospital and you're told, we can deposit 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, or 200,000. You know, okay, let's think of that concept. 150,000 deposit, for example, which is a number I think is realistic. Even if you go to your ATM, even if you have the cash,
you can't withdraw.
You can't withdraw.
Yes.
Right?
It's a maximum. Is it 40,000? I think per withdrawal.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you to M-Pesa. Maybe now people can withdraw.
Yeah.
Bank to M-Pesa. Then, but you see, those were issues people used to have. And another thing would be, for example, that assume you don't have this money available. It's in a fixed deposit because we all want to. Money market. You know. You don't have the cash, right? Yeah. So how do you access? So you have the money, but you can't access the service.
Yeah.
So if you, let's say you buy a hospital deposit, medical cover, for example,
Nice.
that would be a very simple one because you'd say, what's the inpatient admission? We talked about it, 1 in 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
So naturally, if 1 in 10 need hospital deposit, or let's say even 200K just to add something extra, then you just do what is 10% of 200K. 20K,
Yeah.
right? Then you do some mathematics there on, what is required. Is it some hospitals deposit at 50K, some at 200. So you do some adjustments downward.
Yeah.
That product can go, just that alone can go up down to 5 Gs as a product per person.
Yeah.
And essentially, somebody will say, look, I might take the risk for when the sickness comes, but at least I know admission, I have cash.
Yeah.
Again. So
that's a good product.
Obviously, on the fly, look at that. I just did that.
And it was because of the Truth Be Told
because
podcast.
of the podcast. Yeah? But what I'm trying to say is that if you're in the design stage, which we do, and that's our work as actuaries, we can design anything.
Yeah.
I can design anything even for 5 bob.
Okay.
Yeah. So the issue is not the designing.
Okay.
The issue is, the insurance company has annual expenses it has to pay.
Okay.
So assume you're a silver insurance company, right? New insurer. And then you need to sell products. And then you see people who are buying the insurance company, the insurance products are a certain category of people who believe in it. And they're like, oh, we believe in insurance. So what will you do? Will you sell them a cheap product or will you sell them an expensive product to cover your costs?
Expensive.
Because you need, you have a big, nice building.
Yeah.
You have some good employees up, or they're earning good money. You need to pay them. So you have expenses.
Yes.
So you'll ask yourself, do I get 100K per person, or do I get 5 bob per person?
100.
Right?
Yes.
And the guy for 5 bob doesn't believe in it. I have to first of all convince him.
You have to do a lot of marketing.
And P&L inakugoja bana.
Yes.
Salaries are coming.
Yes.
Rent. The guy for rent from Betty. I'm increasing insurance penetration. So the reality is the challenges of the sector are because of the people who believe in insurance tend to be high income. And so your question will be, do I sell to them a product, one big comprehensive product per person who believes in this thing, or do I try to build the market? Now, I don't have the balance sheet for market building. I only have a balance sheet for sales, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the reality of the cost in the market are because of the fragmentation and the asymmetry we have. Look at that. Word
fragmentation.
Word salad.
Asymmetry. But I think something is improving. I just attended, it was a launch of a new micro insurer in the market. So I'm starting to feel that now there's also attention. And even while the IRA CEO spoke at that event, he mentioned that he was not keen on licensing existing businesses. Like he wants new people, new entrants going into the micro space. So I also feel that even the 5-bob person, hopefully, will have an insurer that will be able to serve them and bring them that product that actually works for them.
You see, first of all, God bless your heart.
Yes,
all those
and I believe
with your
the
dreams.
reality on the quaground. So let me tell you a story for micro. Look, we've been there, micro.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming.
And then it changed to inclusive insurance. I'm like, oh, the name changed now. Inclusive. Now we're inclusive. Right?
Yes.
So one thing I can tell you, if you want to have a successful microinsurance, you essentially have to have like a backing of like a NGO type financing at the back.
Okay. So non-profit.
Because there's a lot of market building.
Yes.
Half the time you're building market and you're not doing sales.
Okay.
Right?
So charity, it has to be charity.
It's not a charity. No, it's not the issue of charity. The issue is market building. Market building means convincing this guy that the WhatsApp group, leave it that one.
Okay.
Yeah, the mchango you've been adding, leave that one.
Yes, and
come to this one.
Yeah.
Right? That shift already that mind shift needs a lot of working.
Yes.
It needs a lot of testing. It needs a lot of what I would say. Because imagine if you advertise to somebody who pays you 5 bob. Remember those 4 boxes? Money for client, distributor cost, expenses for the business and profit. If you get 5 bob and you only get maybe 10% of that 5 bob as money for your expenses, now you're in the 50-cent category. Will this 50% pay for the billboard?
No.
Okay, so it's not a charity on the billboard. Is that somebody has to finance the billboard and agree to wait
for some time.
So
as an actuary, how long will that take? Is there? Please predict that. Do we?
I don't think.
How long do we need to wait to get to that level?
I think it's not a waiting question because the current infrastructure we had 10 years ago, the wait would have been longer.
Okay.
It would have been maybe 100 years.
Okay.
But the infrastructure is changing. IRA, for example, the regulator is adding new licensing requirements. Because remember, in the past, you needed 600 million to start an insurer.
Yeah.
Now you need 50. You see, that's a big shift. Allowing you to start an insurance company with only 50 mil. And when I say only, is on the context of the requirement before was 600.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? It's like nearly a tenth of the money. You can actually start 10 small companies with the same money.
600 million, yeah.
So that's a big change. Allowing people who sell insurance companies to be people like supermarkets. Because now before, you required people to have a certification called a COP, proficiency. But now for micro, you've removed that requirement.
Yeah.
You said even a shopkeeper can sell.
Yeah.
Right? So you've reduced that. So, but even now, that's still not enough. All I'm saying is that maybe 10 years ago, for you to get your money back, maybe you'd have needed 100 years.
Yes.
But with these changes, because now you have less cash, less requirements, maybe now it's down to maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
And there's a market. So as I said, it's market building. As a market is built, then that payback period drops. 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. So eventually it will get there.
Okay.
But it won't get there assuming there's no more market building. So the issue here is not you can't just sit and wait as an investor. You have to still allocate some funds for market development.
Okay.
You have to engagements with people like regulators, people like AU. AU have now a fund for climate, where they say, okay, we're going to do resilience for farmers and all those things. So it'll have to be a concerted effort across the continent for you to be able to get to micro works.
Okay.
But until then,
But what I also loved during the launch, one of the world superpowers was heavily represented. Their embassy sent someone in, and one of the things that they committed is that they were finalizing, especially on heavily funding the new micro insurer. And I think it speaks of the, what you're speaking about. But Male, to your question, that 1% of Kenyans having 100K in their accounts, isn't that something to applaud? Why do we need money lying idle in bank accounts? Don't you think the other side of it is that money is in money market funds, it's being invested, People are probably now starting to embrace trust funds because
they're
when
buying
I think
insurance.
About it also, I don't have idle money in my bank account. Pesa ikiingia by the 5th, I have sent it out where it's supposed to be.
So
what do you think?
Ama,
you have 100K. Are you part of the 1%?
I like your enthusiasm. But who are the most profitable companies right now in the stock market? That's where the money is going.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's EABL there. so
topping.
Yeah. So
but
maybe
EABL money needs to be in the bank account, right?
I'm just, okay, it's there. But
EABL money is in the bank account.
No. I'm just saying that the reason why only 1% have money in the bank account is not because that money is somewhere else. It's because from an income perspective, you have to accept per capita is low. Yeah, that's number one. Mm-hmm. Which is an unfair thing about world geopolitics, currency issues, which I'll not talk about. Mm-hmm. The second aspect is from a KRA perspective, PAYE, NSSF contribution, blah, blah. Yes. What percent of Kenyans are contributing who have a salary above 100K? I think that number is 10%. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it tells you that from an income perspective, only 10% of the population will be at 100K and above. So the fact that 1% of them still has that cash, it means that there's a guy at 100K, there's a guy at 200. So somebody has been able to save, right? But I don't think the issue here is whether we have 100K or not. I think the issue here is that are people able to survive, right? You can say you have 200K, but in a market where banana is 100 bob. Yeah. Or you can have the same amount of money, but in a market where banana is 5 bob or 2 bob, right? So I would say the focus should be a living wage for now, for the people. And then you see now, or we can all say, we want a living wage, blah, blah, all those nice things. But you see this extra cash you're saving has to now create productivity, right? So I think the biggest challenge you have as Kenya is we complain about government debt, but then we want it. Mm-hmm. We want the debt.
Yes.
Think about it this way. We complain Kenya has 10 trillion in debt. 10 trillion government, all those nice things. Stop taking debt, right?
IFB.
Okay. Same person.
Yes.
Put money in a pension scheme. Pension scheme, 2 trillion of pension scheme money, out of that entire 2 trillion, nearly 70% is in bonds. Yeah. Asking for debt.
Yes.
Okay. So the same money you put in pension, you want government to give you. You take the same money in insurance company. I'm investing.
Yes.
Debt. You take money to money market.
Yes.
Government bonds. Yeah. So you are the one creating the problem. And you're like, government, I put my money, you get an extra maybe 50K, 100K, you put in the bank. Bank, I want a return. Where do you think the return is coming from? It's coming from the same government. In fact, government, first of all, I think should just stop. Just say, from tomorrow. Yes, we are. I'm giving you at 5%. Yeah. I'm telling you, the people will be out of their jobs because actually government is the big investor in Kenya. And do you know it's not a Tesla. Do you know what its investment is? Me and you, taxes. That's a structure. And we get cash. We get cash. We don't give to a guy starting an M-Pesa shop or somebody doing like caps and helping them. We don't do that. We don't do because we're like, no. I can take my money in money market and get more return. Yeah. What do you think that money market is? What do you think at the back is? It's debt, government debt at the back. Yeah. So the 10 trillion is us creating it. Maybe people can argue foreign debt, right? Out of that 10 trillion, foreign debt is like half. And I'm like, foreign debt. What's the risk? We don't have it in our own currency, blah blah. That can be resolved, but that is not the issue. The issue is that we are not putting that 1%, 100K in banks in productivity creation. Because if you do productivity creation, you create wealth, which creates
Is that an
other
issue of
people.
lack of knowledge on what are those productive activities?
I think it's just meanness. It's just mean people.
Okay.
We just mean.
Really?
Yeah, we just mean. As in, your rela texts you now, nimeanza kabiashara pa.
Wacha niweke kwa bank.
Ninapata pa money market 15. Tunanipatia 15. Are you serious? As in, they will lose money for 1 year straight before they even get it.
So the ideas are there, but we want safe bets.
We cannot continue taking cash to government instruments and complaining why government is not financing us. It's not government's fault. Right?
But don't you think the problem also starts with the government? Because if the economy was, supporting like these initiatives, businesses, if the economy was working for Kenyans, I think a lot of people would be going into business. But right now, as it is, the only quote-unquote safe bet is and you can tell a lot of people, by the time they're going into money markets, let's be honest, we are told you will enjoy professional management.
Of what?
Of debt.
Of debt.
We are not even
Of making sure it's more debt.
We are not. The one thing that is sold to you
Structured debt.
No, the one thing that is sold to you is you will not have to worry where your 100K is being put, at 20K has gone into.
That's not my problem.
So don't you think it's the geniuses? That's where the problem starts. Maybe the fund management companies or something.
I think as Kenyans, we are too cynical and we blame everybody.
Okay.
We need to stop that. It's a good thing to have. That's not my fault. Actually, it is your fault because the other people have come up with ideas and you've not financed them. And you're like, look, I can't do it by myself. You can, maybe because you can just take up and structure things and do things a bit more. The issue here is this: we cannot continue putting all our cash, whether it's pension, government bonds, debt. Bank account, I have $1 million in the bank, still government debt. Insurance company, a majority government debt.
Yeah.
Money markets, nearly all of it.
Yeah.
And then come and say, why are we being taxed? The government is destroying the economy. What is economy? Economy is productivity. What are you doing to support productivity? Productivity means helping somebody do something, right? Because how am I going to be productive if I'm hungry? So if you finance somebody, you remove hunger. Actually, think about it.
Yeah.
When you give somebody cash, you just remove hunger issues. And then they can bring all the innovation and start doing something, right? And
I think that will be hard.
But no, I'll tell you where
I'm thinking for myself. My safe bet is that.
I think that sounds very well theoretically, but the truth on the ground when you are a business person in Kenya is very different because one, the economy is not working, and it's not just the economy. One, it's kanjo, it's everything. You try set up a shop somewhere, the sort of like barriers to entry even into that space is already so high. You're being frustrated end to end. I think there's still a lot that if the government really wanted like a lot of Kenyans to go into, those productive ways, where I can look at my relative and they're starting a gig and I decide, what, I'll put in 200K and I will be patient because I know in some 5 years, I could have maybe this much.
You need to exit from guarantees. You need to exit from that conversation. You need to be risky. Nobody ever built anything without risk. And the narrative that you can get high return with zero risk, you need to exit from it. Because that's what bonds have done. They have created... and look at the insurance world. When I sell you an insurance product, and then I tell you the return will be X, you're like, no, I want a guaranteed return. But see, the same insurer can take, look, we're getting 300B. The same insurer, let's say healthcare. The insurer can build a hospital. But they can't now because you're like, no, this premium is expensive. You see, if imagine we are collecting, let's say healthcare in insurance, 55 billion.
Per annum.
Per annum, new money, right? And you know what? Insurance companies are making losses. They made a loss of 2 billion. So imagine they collected 55B and they made a loss. Why? Because the conversation is not, can you set up a hospital in my estate? Right? And we will pay, if I'm paying 20K, let me pay 25.
Yeah.
That conversation we don't want to hear. We want to say, look, what's the cheapest I can get? Can I pay 15 Gs? We have expenses.
Yes.
So some people call it wicked problems. Wicked problems in it's a problem within a problem within a problem within a problem. And then you see, look, I don't have time to unwind these problems.
Yeah.
As a Kenyan, I have this
You
amount
are on
of money.
brand. You are right on brand.
I have this money, and this is all I can pay. So hopefully, when we get more actuaries and superheroes, we shall get a few in that sector, and they shall save us.
Okay.
But until then, we shall suffer with taxes and debt.
Okay. Sha. I think that's a big one. What's the problem there? Is it even a perception issue? Is what's happening? We're talking about universal care. That's a good thing, right?
You see, universal healthcare, first remember, came from Millennium Development. Remember MDGs? Remember, so Millennium Development.
Yes.
Keep back here.
And then we went to SDGs. You know, SDGs are
What
now...
was SDGs?
So here.
What was the S?
Yeah.
Okay.
You figure it out.
I don't-
The G is goals.
Okay.
And the D is development.
Yes, we're certain.
So you can start working backwards. So there's universal healthcare there. So every country globally is trying to achieve universal health coverage. So I think we need to put that down there, right? Because you have to understand why. Once you understand the why, you now come to understand where the challenges are. So once you have that, then now you know you need to do universal healthcare. So what is the principle of universal healthcare? The rich pay for the poor. Okay. We just talked about meanness, but then we'll get to this one. So when the rich pay for poor, the problem now becomes, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Because we're used to private insurance, which is healthy, pay for the sick.
Yeah.
So all of us healthy people pay for the sick guy. And if we are sick, we'll be paid for.
Yeah.
So we don't know when we'll be. So we're shifting between healthy and sick. And from an inpatient perspective, that switch happens every 10 years. So once in every 10 years, you'll switch from the box of healthy into sick.
Yeah.
So you feel that is a good thing.
It's a good, yeah.
But rich pay for poor, you're like, I'll never be broke.
No. No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So now the issue now becomes the structuring of that service.
Okay.
Because how many rich people do you have? We don't have so many.
Yeah.
How many people do you have? Poor people? A lot.
We just talked about 10% to our.
Yeah, it's a lot. So essentially, the pot of money is not enough.
Okay.
So you'll feel that you're getting hit on the cash side,
Yeah.
but there's no money coming in. Okay? So the first issue of the percentage of revenue, nobody likes that. And it's because, one, there's a salaried category. People are salaried,
Yes.
who are very few humans.
Yes.
I think 3 to 4 million. That's the number. And then you have the non-salaried humans, which are the majority.
Yes.
And I say majority, 80-20.
A very high majority.
80% are non-salaried, 20 are.
Yeah.
You know, I used to say informal sector, and I was told, no, don't say informal sector.
No, it's
Say
salaried.
non-salaried.
Okay.
It's an okay word to use, okay? So now, when you say rich people for poor, now you have to split them into a rich salaried, paying for poor non-salaried. Rich salaried, paying for poor salaried. Rich non-salaried, paying for poor non-salaried.
Yeah.
Or rather, these small boxes of people with a salo, and poor rich guys paying for poor guys, and then this other side, people without a salo, whether you have an Uber, whether you have a taxi, whether you're in construction, whatever it is, anybody who doesn't have a PAYE, anybody without HR, if you have HR.
Okay.
So guys with HR, guys without HR.
Yes.
Now guys with HR are only 20%. Guys without HR are 80%.
Yes.
Now guys with HR, it's very easy to collect money from them, and they will complain, and they will get money.
Tell me about it.
Okay? Now the problem with SHA is because the people with HR have already put money in.
Yes.
People without HR have not. So I'm just listing the problems first before now we get to the real problems. No, we were not in from an actuarial perspective, we're not in problems yet.
Okay.
Right now we are in hope, but we'll get to problems.
We have faith.
I'll tell you the problems.
Okay.
Okay, so we're in that stage. Then now we come now to the benefits. How much am I getting? Now the problem is that the people promising the benefits are the average person who says, okay, these are the benefits I want.
Okay.
Because you're saying, let's get all this cash out, and these are the benefits I want. Right? That's number one. Number two, our health infrastructure is not the best. Okay? And just to give you an idea, let's say for private sector, an insurance company has how many? If you ever bought an insurance policy, then you get another big Excel saying,
hospital.
Hospital
Specialist.
And a long list. I'm covered.
Yes.
Can you tell the reality? Out of 1,000 hospitals in private sector, and out of the 50 billion private sector gets, do you know how many of those hospitals get most of the money? The top 10 get half the cash.
Oh, wow.
Out of 1,000 hospitals, top 10 get half the cash. Then the 990
and
now if you go to top 20 or top 50,
we're done.
bad. So actually, the reality, we might think we have facilities.
No.
But we don't. And that's the thing, I've not seen anybody addressing it. Because, and we'll get to it, because there's an issue of facilities and an issue of doctor to patient ratio, which I don't like the word ratios. It's just, what I'm trying to say is that if you have more doctors, you're able to finya them. Like kula 30,000, kula 5K for surgery.
But right now they are very few.
But the demand is too much. You tell a guy, he tell you no. He has the option.
Right? And he'll have the traffic.
So since we don't have enough doctors, then now we have. So cost of care is whether people say we'll do AI, as in let's just be serious. Even if I am sick and you tell me to use AI, ati mimi ni risk my life. Never.
Yes.
Talking to a robot.
You shika the nogale shingo. Nikikufa hapa. And send you people. We will threaten a robot. So now we have a health infrastructure issue. So now the problem is this rich people for poor issue, the money is coming in. What can that buy? The problem is that there's a disconnect between the pool of cash and the promise. Right? So that is what I would call the fundamental problem that is an issue of not Kenya, but universal healthcare as a concept globally. So now, let's now come to Kenya now. Okay? So we already have that issue of rich people, poor, and HR, no HR, and do you have the infrastructure to give these services?
Yeah.
Can you provide these services? Now let's now come to the SHA issue now. So SHA right now, the only challenge I would say it has, so I would say as an insurance company, and we have 13 of them, and they've been working, and they're successful, and they're collecting 50B, so it's not an issue. As an actuary, when I look at insurance company for healthcare in the private sector, it's in 3 stages.
Yeah.
So stage 1 is the post office stage, which is, what's a post office? You're just collecting on behalf.
Okay.
So an insurance company, a health insurance company, is just a post office. You're just collecting money on behalf of the hospital.
Yes.
Because actually, you don't give care. If I have a headache, and you tell me, give me money, I want to take that money and go to a hospital. So the post office stage is where you're not being able to translate money you collected into the hospital, because actually you're just transporting money to the hospital. If you think, so the insurance world, in insurance world, we call it payer. We call insurance companies payers. Payer. But that is the stage now SHA is in, which is, I would say, stage 1 is not a hard stage. But okay, it's failing. You're not failing, but it's struggling. It's struggling in stage 1, which is, are you able to get hospitals to sign up? Because you're just a money collector. So that process, I would say, takes time, because there are contracts, and then you have to commit somebody, blah, blah, blah. So that is not a hard stage. That is stage A.
Okay.
So we'll get there. I think maybe we'll get, but that's the hard stage. Now let's go to stage 2 and 3. Now that is the real murder points, and that is where those schemes need to be very careful from an actual perspective. Stage 2 is the bank stage. The bank stage is how fast you collect money and how fast do you pay, right? And how do you manage that process?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, we've created a promise to people that will pay on their behalf.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that is going to be a very dangerous stage because you make a promise, you tell guys, all the poor, indigents, go to hospital tomorrow.
We are
Guys,
sorting your bill, yeah.
Yes.
The problem is, all these, and we're not talking about 2 million guys, we're talking about maybe 5
It's a lot.
5 million families,
Yeah.
and that family has like 4 guys.
Oh,
Yeah. So now the problem will be the stage of telling guys go to hospitals and get care on credit,
Yes.
which means I go and get treated and I go home.
Yeah.
Then we'll pay the hospital later.
Yeah.
Now the problem is that cash will not be coming, and this problem is in 2 stages. Is that from the cash promise to people going and taking care on credit? You see, you cannot close the tap because the hospital is just supposed to treat people with a card.
Yeah.
Pre-authorized, go get treated. And
You can't say right now, okay, we've not been paid for the last 6 months.
yeah.
We are stopping
Yeah.
it.
So the second stage is a bank stage, is a very dangerous stage. This now we're in insolvency discussions because if those guys you don't pay them and they shut you down,
Yeah.
stage 1 of post office you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the second issue, still within the bank stage, the issue is that when you promise all these poor guys, government will pay for them. The issue is this: you are not giving. You're still in your head thinking about rich paying for poor. No, you need to pay for full value.
The whole.
Full value. Let's assume full value was 15 Gs.
Yeah.
You'll say poor guy pays 3 Gs. And then rich guy pays
The rest.
50, 100.
12.
And then on average,
Yeah.
you'll still come to the average of maybe let's say 15 Gs.
Yeah.
In your perception, you think I'll pay for poor guys, you're thinking you'll pay for the poor guy's price.
Yeah.
But you pay this price. You should pay
It's the same value, yeah.
you should pay the value
Yeah.
because now you don't have any rich guys,
Yeah.
poor guys, so you should not look at the real value. Now, problem is that the people will be doing the math will always be thinking, like, let me pay 300 bob. 300 bob is not value. It's not the cost of care. The cost of that was just rich paying for poor issue. The real cost is maybe 10 Gs. Maybe you should pay a G. Now, let's just do simple math. A G per year. So a G per month, which is maybe the real value, times 5 million people. That's 5B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times 12,
Yes.
60B.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that's the promise. The hospitals will have given care for 60B,
Yeah.
and they're waiting for the invoice.
Oh.
The bank stage is now we're in trouble now. Now we are now real problem.
Yeah.
So that is problem number 2, which is a future issue. It's coming, but it's not yet ticked. So right now we're in onboarding facilities, which is it's a teething issue, not a real problem.
Yes.
Now the final problem, the final stage, which is the most dangerous stage for an insurance company, is the health insurance company. It's called moral hazard. But let me put it for the Kenyan. It's called the betting. The betting. An insurance company is a betting company.
Yeah.
Think about it.
There's the gambling stage.
It's a gambling stage. Yeah? Now, remember, these guys without HR,
Yeah.
you're telling them to sign up. Who do you think will sign up the most? The sick guy.
Yes. Always.
Always.
Yeah.
So all these guys without HR,
Yes.
the guys who you'll be, hey, sign up. Who will sign up first? The sick guy.
Yeah.
Now, the math you've done, your betting math, you've said, how many people will be sick versus the money I have. Now, the sick guys start coming in. You're now starting a serious problem. Because remember that example of a bread where the bread is 50 bob and they're putting a bob?
One shilling.
Every time you're getting sick guys, they're just putting a bob in, they're getting 50 out. A bob
there are
in,
many.
and there are many.
Yeah.
Now you're in moral hazard stage now. Now you're in not insolvency. Now you're in kuisha makanga.
Yes.
And you have to pay.
Yes.
Kufa mechanic. Now
Yeah.
you're in now problems.
Yeah.
Big ones. What easy at your provider. When the sick guys start signing up, stage now, did NHF have this problem? It did. However, it managed it very well because what it did, the salaried guys were given a number that they didn't complain about. So they would pay
Easily.
a number. Yeah, like, I mean, those facilities. I don't go.
Yeah.
So they collect all this cash from salaried guys
Yes.
who never use this money.
Yes.
And then they had a small group of people who paid 500 bob. So they're able to manage that. But now
you have a very high value.
now you've made these other guys angry.
Yes.
And they're paying a lot.
Because you've not capped.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, I want my money.
want to use
so
it,
there's
yeah.
not enough cash here. And then now the other one was not like a national campaign to enroll.
Yeah.
It was, a few sick guys would come in.
Yeah.
And there's going to be national campaign to enroll. So all the sickest guys in other words, all the maximum points of sickness will reach.
Wow.
So that stage for me, which might be a year 2 issue, is a scary point because if you don't cap those things immediately,
Yeah.
you don't cap the salaried guys' money and let them cool down.
Yeah.
Because right now they are thinking, hey, man, this benefits for this thing. Ebu angalia this thing.
Yeah.
No, it's not
If I'm paying 7,000 per month,
hey, they'll start
That's
asking.
84K.
yeah, that's a lot of money. I must
And,
utilize
and,
it.
and how much you'll get from salaried guys compared to shit, compared to HF? Maybe they'll get maybe they'll move from 3B to 5B. The needle won't move much,
Yeah.
Yes.
but the consumption
We'll move.
will move
Yeah.
materially. Guys will start asking, look, this hospital, is it one of those people? In a social health scheme, you don't want the rich guys to consume that cash.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want them to stay away from our money. So you want them to contribute an amount that they'll
That's
stay away.
negligible.
They'll be like,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, it's 1,000.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Watch out, Pambai now.
Yeah.
It's 1,700, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now you start getting to 50 Gs a month.
Hey.
You start asking people, hey, where's my money?
Because that would also mean that the employers are not taking up private insurance for them.
No, they will. They still will. They'll just
Maybe
ask.
as a complimentary. They might not spend as much.
They will spend it from a perspective of they'll ask that question.
Okay.
You see, before somebody goes to hospital, maybe for surgery, they won't ask, does NHF pay or does SHA pay?
Yeah.
Before they won't ask.
Yes.
But now they'll ask because they're paying so
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's the point. You don't want the rich guys to ask. So as I said, the universal healthcare problems we know, and this is the challenges why it's hard globally, whether it's in the US or other markets, why it's hard.
Yeah.
It's because of that concept of how the structure is, who's paying, and do you have the facility to pay. So in Kenya, we are right now in the post office stage, which is not a hard stage to get out of, and you just need to sign a few more contracts and you're okay.
Yeah.
And there are teething issues because you go to this hospital, it's not in the list. Or like, I don't like it, which is okay because the hospitals people go to are known and they're few. Once you now get into bank stage, all poor guys, or indigents, have a card, get in. And the third stage is uncap, making salaried guys angry and getting the sick guys coming in. Now, those two issues can kill an insurance company. No discussion. And we're talking about insolvency, we're talking about liquidation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think for me, I think there's a lot of skill set in the market. People have been doing health insurance. It's not a new thing.
Yes,
It's not a new
yes,
thing.
yes.
I think there has to be those discussions with those people and say, look, Old Mutual, Jubilee, AR, Heritage, all these guys have been running
Medical insurance.
you've been running medical schemes. Why don't we get your learnings?
Yeah.
I think the issue of some of these laws when they're written by somebody who hasn't suffered. Somebody who has suffered knows the challenge.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that those discussions have to. I think that those acts have to be rewarded and edited before it's too late.
But do you think SHA can ever be successful? Because if you look at the insurance story in the country, we have seen purely medical underwriters, right? And maybe they've struggled, okay? There are companies that started out as pure medical underwriters. One that I really loved, and eventually, peer insolvency. So with SHA this is a pure medical product. You just told us medical insurance is still making losses. The business,
With our
right?
50B.
Yeah, with our 55B. 55B, they are spending 57. Do you think there'll ever be that balance for SHA? And second to that, at this point where only 20% of the salaried people are contributing into the pot, and we need, say, some 60B to cater for the maybe year-on-year expenses. Don't you think the government needs to find a way of making the 80%, 100% compliant?
I think my top 3 items to save as a chair would be: 1, cap the salaried people cost, make them stop thinking about that money and forget it, because the more they think about it, the more you have a problem. So capping that number to 2 Gs a month, something reasonable, 2 Gs, 2.5, or even 3 Gs.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Okay. This thing of paying for guys has to stop. There's no way you don't have the finances for it. You'll say you've paid, but you've not disbursed, and the guys will be in the hospitals. So that thing of paying for guys has to stop. The third aspect, which is the most difficult, and nobody should take this issue lightly, is onboarding people who are not sick. That will be what will save it. So if you don't apply those 3 aspects, then you have to go to the realities of insurance. The reason why people go to university for 4 years to study insurance, where there's a course on it, is not because you can just show up and say, let me type something up here and it'll work. Okay. It's like, okay, let me type up a bridge here. And cars can pass. And they're like, oh, why is it falling? No, I think to be serious
it's
about
a study.
it.
It's a real study.
Yeah, it is insurance.
Yeah.
And the I in it is insurance.
Yeah.
And that needs degrees. So anyway, as a Kenyan, cynical as usual. So wacha tuone, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a last bit of that question you asked. You asked 2 parts, whether it will succeed, and what was the last part of that
Is
question?
it sustainable as a purely medical,
Yeah.
or will the government have to keep maybe pumping in money?
Well, as long as your money market funds are earning returns and you need investment income and you're eating into the debt cost, that brings the issue of financing on that side. So I think there has to be a moderation on how you implement the noble concept of UHC. But you have to be in the reality that you're in the insurance space, and unless you manage these 2 issues, some of these things, I think maybe the parting shot is that insurance is complex, and don't assume because you like something it will work, because you've dreamt it will work the most, right? There is a lot of work. It is possible for it to work, as I mentioned. There are other actuaries who can come in and do great things, and I think they can. But I think it's something that needs to be well thought out, and people should not be afraid to edit a few things that they put in. Being a pure health insurance, there are pure health insurance in Kenya. There are many globally. So I don't think that's a challenge. Supporting the supply side. What is the supply side? Number of doctors, number of drugs, a bit more factories in. Maybe making let's go into dream world. Let's dream world. If you want to reduce cost, you have to reduce the care itself. So you have to get what is the care cost, drug cost, human beings, which are the doctors, and infrastructure. So drug cost, there are a lot of free patents out there. Let's dream. Go to like one of the big pharmaceuticals, and there are a lot of free patents for Africa by there.
Okay.
Just build a factory and do something nice, right?
Produce
That's one.
some drugs, manufacture some painkillers and all.
And let's dream. But it is possible. Then number 2 is doctors. I don't think the issues of let's do AI. We need to be realistic. This is people's care, right? So maybe training a bit more guys on it, pumping cash into all these young people. Just maybe get like 2 million of them.
Yeah.
Do you know how many doctors we have? 10 Gs. It's nothing. So maybe make it.
How does that compare with India? Is that
okay? Let's even go there. So maybe even say, look, let's make it 100,000 docs, right? And then throw that number there.
Yeah.
That number there is not to say that we have enough doctors. That cost, you're doing a demand supply issue. You're trying to reduce what they ask for. Yeah, you're trying to finya them and make them. Ask for less, right? For a CS, you want a CS for 2 Gs. If you want to CS for 2 Gs, if I'm the only doctor doing CSs, I'll charge you $1 million.
But if we are 100,000,
but if we are 10,000 dokies on the table, hey, I'll be like, hey, man. So you're not adding them. You're not adding docs to it's a demand supply issue. That's number 2. The infrastructure, having a HOC, you're going to talk to like the big hospitals, the Aga Khans, the Nairobi hospitals, the rest, MP Shah, name dropping.
Yeah.
Tell them, look, why don't you have like a 5-bed in this estate?
In this Kijiji.
Yeah, 5 bed. So the infrastructure is there. So naturally that will reduce that cost because you get that community to own. Because I'm sure there are many people in that estate who have shops, malls.
Yeah.
Why can't they own a HOC with 5 beds? And so that dream is what would reduce cost of care. So it's not saying reduce cost of care that will make it work. It's actually
putting in
looking at what is driving the cost and seeing how you can drop it. But and obviously get more actuaries,
Yes.
geniuses, and talented humans.
Yes, with strong A's. Strong
to support
A's.
strong A's.
Yes.
And if they're tall, it's also better.
Okay. Okay.
And speaking of the strong A's, so that young person who's watching this and they're wondering, because I think you mentioned there's money. There's money.
Bucket
for
load.
actuaries. Yes. Because we see a lot of them, go into school, study actuarial science, and people just end up maybe in quote unquote like normal roles. Okay.
Normal.
What is that part? No, not as actuaries.
What is normal?
Like I mean at the bank, doing some,
regular roles.
Regular roles. Not these ones for
accountants
and all. Yes.
Sorry.
Do you know that what you call normal is somebody's dream? I dreamt to be an underwriter.
Yes.
And they're like, this is
But I
normal
do know
job.
that an actuarial scientist was not dreaming of that.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for that younger person? Or what is the career path? Where do you think maybe they're making a mistake and not really ending up like where Ezekiel has been able to get to? What would you advise them?
I think first of all, to remember, Ezekiel was not built by Ezekiel. I think there was a bit of luck, a lot of it. That's number 1. People like Sammy Macharia when he built, when he was helping building the insurance industry capacity, adding actual functions. That was regulator support. Where I work, guys like Patrick Tumbu helped me qualify and all those things and practice the business. So a lot of people helped Ezekiel. It was like a village at the back. It's not just, it isn't me, one man army, even though it looks like that. I think as a market, we have to increase our capacity, right? Of qualified people. But it cannot be that you're coming in to a market that's collecting 300 and you're looking on keeping that 300. So unless they come in to say, look, how can you move this to 600B? Everybody listen, right? How can you move this to 900B? And then someone will ask, but can we really move to 600? Yes, we can, because our penetration is 3%. And it can be 5, it can be 6. So if you just double penetration today, you can go from 300B to 600B. 600B, man, even if you take a B from that, man, and you give it to 100 students per annum, that's too much money for them. Actually, you need maybe 100,000 people for that. So the discussion should be, how do you expand the pie?
Okay.
So, but we are already holding the pie that is there, the 300. So if they come in to support expansion of the pie, you'll be welcome faster. You'll be welcome, obviously, but you'll be welcome faster if you expand the pie. But if you're coming in to say, I am the solution to all the problems, and you're not coming in to see how that works, there's an issue. But let's also be realistic. Young people have issues on access. Because first of all, we have a capital issue in Kenya. We don't have capital. We don't have money. We don't have capital. So there's a challenge of, I have a degree. Why don't I get a job, right? Why am I not entering the salaried group, the HR side? Why am I being dumped into the non-HR side? But I think that's the reality of the market, is that if you're being dumped to the non-HR side of the equation, why don't we fix that side also, right? But now the problem we have maybe is to the young people, we are not telling them that you might be dumped on the non-HR side of it, and you have the skill set. You know, the skills are there.
Okay, yeah.
You're just not understanding. Oh, but how can I, edit this and amend? Go get all these guys here and tell them this kachama you guys have. This kachama everybody's putting 10K. Wacha nikuje nimuoneshe.
So the reality that you can actually end up in the non-HR side.
Yes, you can.
And what do you do about that?
What do you do about it? And maybe it's a communication issue where we committed to bring them to the HR side. And even the one that came to the HR side, they're saying we're in the normal.
Yes.
It's not what was sold to us.
It's not what was sold. So it's, as I said, it's the reality of the world. Unfortunately, we're just a small cog in a big wheel. But there is hope, and we should, just because we have 10,000 Avengers on the non-salaried side doesn't mean they're not Avengers. So we need to find a way to bring them on board and see how they can affect that side or bring that block into the HR side.
Okay, nice. And you had a village, just one last one. You had a village, to get Ezekiel to where he is. Are you paying it forward? So for a young, aspiring actuary or graduate, where can they find you? Do you mentor them? Yes.
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's my...
Yes. You need to follow him on LinkedIn, Ezekiel Macharia.
But yeah, so we do have a program, like we do bring in interns every year. We open shop in Uganda, Kampala. We've opened shop in Dar. We are opening up shop in DRC. We commit to at least employ as many interns as possible. So because the issue for me is not the job. For me, the issue is I need them to see. So even if they exit, wherever they exit to, at least they have some understanding, because I think that is useful.
Yeah.
Someone. We are, for the ones who can't get internship, we've started something called the Actuarial Academy. And that one is just to get actuaries to mentor young guys, whether they get a job or not. That has helped. We got some funding to support that, and we're going to expand it by making it online and supporting students across East Africa. There is a conversation to do it Africa-wide, but I won't bring that discussion here. But I would say what I'm doing as Ezekiel is I'm having a program where we're getting a lot of interns, not just in Kenya, but in East Africa. Then we also have the academy program. And then finally, we do a lot of trainings. We train a lot of non-actuarial people to have some actuarial knowledge, board members, non-board members. In every given 2 weeks, I'm in a training. In fact, I'm now starting a certification. I've signed up an online platform where I get certificates, and I send to guys. Very happy.
Nice.
I think I should send you guys a cert.
Please do.
Participating in my podcast.
And there's a tall people
Hashtag.
in insurance WhatsApp group.
I want to have a shameless plug. I'm starting a tall people insurance program. And I want to tell all the tall guys we need an admin. And tall people doesn't mean it's relative. So where you live, if you're the tallest guy in the room and you're alone in that room, then you can come. So we do look forward to starting that association.
Nice. Okay. Did you have a question before we close?
So Ezekiel.
Yeah.
If you were allowed to make only one change to Kenya's healthcare financing system, what would it be?
Wow, what a specific question. That one I bill for that answer. I think supply side, I would say I would pump the supply side. I think we are too focused on bringing the billies on the demand side. We're just bringing cash. Let me put it this way. If you think the lines at Nairobi Hospital are long, they'll get longer. Because if I have a medical card, and we saw it in private sector where private insurance, as it grew, a lot of people started getting cover. So everybody, to insurance, everybody has a card. What happened? You'd go to Nairobi Hospital even for a cold banner. So you'd go there, Panga line.
Spend 3 hours.
Because everybody wants to go there. Everybody wants to go to Akan. Everybody wants to go there. But the problem is now, there's a guy who has opened up a facility we don't know about it.
Yeah.
We don't know about it, even though he's the, maybe the best doctor or the worst, we don't know. So the problem is that we are not able to access new entrants into the supply side of healthcare. And what that does is that it frustrates people on the supply side because they're starting things and nobody's signing up. And it also drives cost because if there are more lines in my hospital, I'll keep adding that price until the lines drop.
Agreed. And it's been adding. It's been every year.
So now imagine the entire country, everybody has a card and they can go to Nairobi hospital. And then I will go. In fact, I'll just go just to chill and see.
Just for the sake of it.
Yeah, so supply side has to be the fixing point. And it will take time because you need money. And money can be used for other things. Apart from healthcare, you can build a hotel, Najenga resort Mombasa. You can do a lot of things with that cash.
Okay. That was it? Okay.
Is there another question?
Well, I do have another related to. Okay. So, just a second. Let's start with, what is the biggest myth about insurance that you'd love to debunk, but in one phrase?
Oof.
Those were tough ones.
But he's witty.
Okay.
What this plan? Debunk insurance in one word, or one phrase. First of all, insurance was started back in the 1800s by Wazungus bana. So you need to localize it. So I would say insurance is one big chama where we don't know each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really loved that analogy.
You love
You
it,
explained
huh?
it.
Should
Yes.
finance it.
I know, right?
That's why you should call more actuaries for this. And tall ones. Huh?
Yes.
Well, I think we've covered a lot.
Yes.
Covered a lot. I now know that there was a topic in maths called probability. Here it is, the practicality of it.
Yes.
Okay. And now we know the professionals that sit in the insurance industry, and one of them is the actuarial business.
The super.
Yeah.
What are they? The Avengers behind the scenes.
They're the geniuses in that whole equation. So I think it's been very informative, Charlene.
Yes.
And a lot to talk about, a lot of solutions that we've come up with. I think we are not just looking at the problems. We're looking at how do we fix these problems. Yeah.
So it's been lovely having you, Ezekiel. I must say you are very witty.
Yeah.
I don't think we've laughed this much at a TBT episode.
Yeah.
This was really good. And I keep saying every time we are able to have an amazing guest like you, I think we are building that trust, for people to see, wow, you know, those are the professionals in the industry. So thank you so much for honoring our call.
Thank you very much. And I hope you guys can get more guests.
Yes.
And I think this is just summary, just what you said, just repeat what you said. I'm sorry to recap you.
Yes.
But let me recap it. But I think building trust can only work if you just keep the message out going. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's been our episode for today, the Truth Be Told podcast. My name is Malem Toto Mwanza.
And I'm Charlene Kimara. You may call me Mama Bima Kenya.
And until next time, stay insured.
Okay.